I made a fake LinkedIn account, and this is what it talked to me about business to business marketing.
In a world desperate to tear itself apart, only one man, and some other people, stand in the way of total destruction. Together they will right the wrongs, make bad, good, and single-handedly destroy evil, together. Who is this man, you may ask? This man is Geoff.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Geoff Jones and Friends Make It Better, the show that takes one of life's little annoyances, gives them a microphone, a guest, and a podcast, and the unwavering ego to believe he can make absolutely everything better. Today, I am more than delighted to be joined by stand-up comedian Glenn Braley. Glenn, how are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Jeff. Pleasure to be on the show.
Thank you very much. It's great to have you on. You know, we've had lots of comedians on, and it's one of my favorite things is because the takes on different things and how people react to different situations, especially with comedians, it's through an eye of generally odd, which is yeah, it's slightly different to most people's. But first of all, look, let's talk about you. So, like the stand up. How long have you been doing stand up now?
Well, I started in 2018. What prompted me to get into stand-up was that was the year that I had my second divorce. So I thought, well, I've
Oh,
probably got enough material now.
all the things you couldn't say. You
Exactly. It's that forum just to vent about everything that winds you up, which is what attracted me to coming on your podcast as well.
I thought it's second divorce. That's some strong numbers.
Yeah, it's going some. I mean, I've got my sights set on at least three.
Yeah.
Currently working on that. I haven't actually popped the question to her yet, but I'm sure once I do, she'll be tired of me in short order.
That's it. Get that hat trick. I mean, hey, no, it's good to have a goal. That's what I always think. Okay, so where are you working at the moment? What are you working on? Within the world of comedy. So you've been going
So
for what, 6 years now? I mean, suppose you have to
obviously
take out
minus
a
COVID, yeah.
bit of a pandemic in that as well, which must be difficult if you're getting into it. You build up a bit of steam, and then all of a
Yeah, I mean the
sudden,
the worst part for me was that I started performing in 2018, then 2019 I started hosting my own shows. And literally the day before the first lockdown, I got the first sort of pro show with the budget organized with a place near me.
oh,
And we did it and it went well. And they went, oh, yeah, we'll definitely get you back for another one. And then nobody was allowed out of the house for months.
wait. So are we saying that COVID started kind of with you? Like
Yeah, I'm not saying that I necessarily caused COVID, but I think it's one of the dominoes that fell over to get us to that point.
the perfect storm of bats and Glenn Brady getting successful.
Yeah.
Um, that's what, equilibrium, isn't it? You know, it's making the world even almost. I don't know. Okay, so post lockdown, how's that been going for you?
Yeah, it's good. I was really lucky that when I came through lockdown, the venue that I was working with initially for it was sort of the first place that I really got a foothold in, which is the Four Horsemen in Bournemouth. They've been absolutely top notch the whole way through. Still going strong there. We run a show there on the last Sunday of the month. That's in Bournemouth Triangle. And that one of their sister venues, Zephyr, which is across the other side of town, we do that on the first Sunday of the month because I very cynically targeted the weeks in the month where people should actually have a bit of cash.
Nice. Business brain. Yeah, they should have. And hey, there's no better place to spend it than on live comedy.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. I mean, that's one of the great things about sort of, the as you said, the open mic scene and sort of the lower end of the semi-pro circuit is that it's cheap tickets.
yeah.
Zephyr is a free show because the venue pay for it. Four Horsemen tickets start at £5 if you buy early enough. We've got three levels of tickets. We've got £5 for the early bird, £7.50 for the delayed pigeon, and then £10 for anyone that couldn't be asked to be any sort of bird.
For the lame duck who just
Yeah.
finds its way in because it's got nothing else to do. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, no, I'm glad it's going well. I'm glad you got your night set up and that's kind of continued. People in the Bournemouth area. Oh, do you know what? internationally just come over to Bournemouth,
Yeah, it's a nice place to visit. Just make sure that you
it
bring your
is.
hazmat suit now that all the seas are full of shit.
I mean, you said in Bournemouth. That's but well, that is a problem because Bournemouth is such a lovely place. Stretch your beaches. But hey, we're now there. Visit Bournemouth. Go to the beach, but maybe not the water. And obviously go and find Glenn Braley and his stand-up comedy nights. All the links will be shared for those events in the bio, and we'll recap that at the end as well. But Glenn, we are not here to talk about you. I'm afraid we're here for you to come on here and do a job. So, what is it that we are making better today?
Well, for me, it's one of the biggest bugbears in my life. Obviously, with promoting comedy, I spend a lot of time perusing social media, and I think it is, in short, a cesspit. I would quite happily burn it all to the ground, but we're going to go through the different elements of social media and how I think they should differ, really.
I mean, I've said to you previously, we've covered social media on the show before. I think maybe once in season two, or maybe even once on season one as well. But it's so like it's morphed, hasn't it, from what it was 15 years ago with Facebook and even I never MySpace, but from what that was and become to what it is now, and especially if we start talking kind of Twitter, X, Twitter, like what it is now. So come on, what is it? Give us your first point of what annoys you the most about social media.
I think the thing that's most annoying for me about social media is, by and large, most social media platforms allow anonymity. And if there's one thing that brings out the utter elemental dickishness in a human being, it's the safety to say whatever you like without somebody being able to come round and knock your teeth in.
No, you're right, and especially as in a world at the moment, which is I know so like just at war with each other for anything from the diet you're on to your political stance. Like just being able to say, "Oh, I'm going to create a profile and this is me and say whatever I want, and no one does anything about it. Like I don't.
Yeah, and it's that the whole way that it's set up is that everything is divided into an echo chamber. You cannot have a reasoned, logical debate with somebody based on facts. It's always somebody who is totally on your side, and then every now and then they'll put somebody that's Satan incarnate in your feed just to try and get that bit of engagement from you.
It is, and people don't necessarily seem to. I don't get me wrong. I used to fall for that. I was the guy who would see something, think that's ridiculous. I'd comment, and then there was a point where I realized I'm just doing exactly what the social media companies want because they don't necessarily care about the conversations people are having. They just want people to engage, and so that means that whether it's good engagement or bad engagement, like they love it when someone's birthday because they get, oh, someone's got 300 friends. All those friends are on Facebook and saying, oh, happy birthday. This is great. But then there's the other side of one person putting or sharing or commenting on a post or even just completely random. Like I've found, especially, well, it's certainly on Facebook, completely random people just in my kind of on my feed.
Yeah, it's sort of
What have I
friends of
done to deserve
friends,
this?
or somebody that's as sponsored accounts, which we'll probably touch on when we move on to Twitter later on.
Yeah.
I refuse to call it X just because I refuse to call any of my exes. But it's the way that it tries to prompt you to get involved with stuff that, like, so many people have such a base level of intelligence that I really wonder how they manage to breathe. But all of them have got access to the internet.
Yeah.
I think we should have some sort of there should there should be some sort of test in order to be able to use the internet and to use social media, because so many people they're living, breathing examples of the Dunning-Kruger effect, which, for anyone that doesn't know what that is, it's the less you know about something, the more you think you know about something.
Yeah.
I mean, Trump. Prime example, thinks he knows everything. In reality, orange Muppet.
Short and to the point, but very, very correct.
So, I mean, with that not knowing, not having the intelligence to do it, particularly with like how AI is developing now, I love a bit of AI. I spend a lot of time with Microsoft Image Creator coming up with utterly ridiculous things. Some of it's for jokes. Like I I was randomly lying in bed one day, and as they do, things pop into your head, and I had the idea form. I went to the hospital the other day. I walked into a room. It was an entire room full of killer whales. That was Orca Ward. And thanks to AI, I can generate an image of the Orca Ward. But people are putting so much stuff out on social media.
I was thinking, God, do you know how difficult that would have been before AI? Like to
Exactly.
get, to
I
get
would
a
have had
whole
to
hospital.
Photoshop for hours to
Oh,
get
I
that.
was just thinking, how are you going to get a room full of orcas? Like that's. But of course, yeah, Photoshop. Yeah, that would have been the reasonable thought pattern.
Yeah, certainly rather than going into the SeaWorld with a balaclava and a tank of salt water. Um, I've got to try and regroup and think
So-
about what I'm saying. Yeah,
Sorry.
AI. So one of the things like I'm in my 40s, and the first social media platform that I got onto was in the days of dial-up. I used to be on CompuServe. It was a BBS. There was no images. It was all text, and it was all just like people chatting through
Yeah.
things. Like to download a game that was 1.4 megabytes, you had to be connected to the internet for the best part of 6 hours. And woe betide if Granny decided to call whilst you were online, because that would absolutely piss on your chips. But it's so easy now to have fake images and everything else on Facebook. And the number of times I've seen these images of here is a boy from Nigeria. He's made the Last Supper out of plastic Coke bottles. Let's have a like and a prayer for that. And it's just such nonsense. And you've got Chat GPT, stuff that is clearly written by an AI. Any post that starts off with, certainly I can help you with that. No, it's
It's
nonsense. It's not been written by a human. It's been written by an AI, and the human is so stupid that they haven't removed the sentence that identifies it as AI. Like before I started really having to use social media regularly, I was not in favor of eugenics. But now I think intelligence is certainly a level we should
yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I can particularly finish that sentence without having to end the podcast here.
I have to pick up. I completely forgot. There was the heady day, and this is before AI. There was just this absolute sweet, and now I think I know what it was. But there, I was certainly on Facebook, kind of before the Twitter boom, I suppose. So I'm still talking about, I don't know, 10 years ago, where on Facebook you had all of these. Oh, can I get a yeah, like in prayer to make sure this mother
Yeah.
has feeds her child. Oh, like you know, this is and people are doing it. Like people are, oh yeah, here's a sending prayers. This is it's all the same. Like these people just putting a picture on and saying send a prayer for this person who they've never met. They've just got it off of the internet. And
Did
people
you
are
ever
just,
see the picture of the golden retriever? And the caption was, "This dog was badly burned in a fire, and he rescued the family." And what it was a golden retriever with a piece of ham over its face. A piece of ham. Anyone that looked at it for a fraction of a second could see it was ham and not charred dog
too.
flesh.
I remember that. I do remember. That's how people they go, oh, yeah. And I tell you what, actually, so this is going to make me seem really insensitive, but when people lose things, whether it be I don't know, an item or a pet or something, and you see it's like,
Yeah,
oh, this dog was this
I know where
dog
you're going.
my dog was lost from Vancouver, Canada, and someone's like, "Oh, shed in North Wales." Like,
Yes,
the dog's not
exactly.
getting there.
You
Like
think
what?
how that dog has got to be a hell of a swimmer to get
Yeah,
from Canada to Wales.
come on, Facebook, do your thing. No, just a local community group will potentially be able to help, or just
Yeah,
go out
get
and
off
look
your
for it.
computer and go out and look for the bloody dog.
I see that all the time. And and it's everything. I just started thinking, people just need to be a bit more careful with their stuff. Like it's, in fact, I have always just wanted to be like, I don't know, a big biro, and you just this big biro. It was a gift from my late grandparent. It means a lot to me. I lost it somewhere in Hyde Park. Um, Anyone, yeah, can please share for like and just see if it grows. Just people like, oh, this big bio really means a lot to this person. Let's see if we can find it, Facebook. You know, oh, but I reckon it'll probably do quite well.
Yeah, or you can go even more minor and lost paperclip last seen on Microsoft Word 97.
But secretly, we do all want that paperclip back.
Oh yeah, Clippy.
Oh, good old clipping. Oh, ROP. They'll bounced up just with his little happy face, being all helpful. But but what I don't you I everything you're saying is exactly right, and I do think one thing I think is anyone who's prepared to pay for social media or an account on social media that isn't because they're a business or they're trying to they need it for a reason that is for publishing something, publishing themselves, stand-up comedian having it because it's visibility and authentication and things like that. That's fine. But people who have it just to feed into the machine,
Mm.
and they've got 8 friends, which is great. But if they're willing to pay X amount, then they need to take a further. There needs to be some further vetting on if they're allowed to actually make any comments on social media.
Yeah, and I think the biggest platform that's guilty of that is Twitter,
Yeah.
because the Twitter blue tick, it was free once you got past a certain number of followers, and then Musk bought the company primarily to stop somebody tweeting the location of his private jet. And that backfired because they just started doing it on Instagram and other platforms
Yeah,
anyway.
threads
But
and all
once
that.
he
Yeah.
bought the company, you had to pay for that verification. And like something that I find most alarming about Twitter is the amount of misinformation that is going out on Twitter.
Yeah.
And it's the pure echo chamber. It's people that disagree with you are very rarely in your feed, and you see so many things. Like most comedians, I'm quite left wing. One day I was having a spirited debate, shall we say, having picked up one of the government's posts, and I had this guy called Stanley Blunt arguing with me. And like I responded to it and said, okay, so here are the facts and figures that show why you're incorrect. What is your response to that? And then it obviously mithered him because he started going through all of my posts and putting really sarcastic comments on there, like, oh, this is a really insightful joke. You should have got more likes on this. And he went on for about 6 hours just going through my history of posts and trying to piss me off by doing that thing. And I kept going back and going, okay, you still haven't actually addressed the point that I've made. So what is your response to that? And he kept going and kept going and kept going. And then in response to one of them, I said, you are being remarkably cavalier for somebody whose last name rhymes with female genitalia. And then he did one more, and I composed a limerick.
Go.
So it was something along the lines of, there once was a man named of Blunt whose behavior would oft cause affront. When confronted with facts, he would try and change tact and revealed himself as a and that was the point when he blocked me.
He
I gave
blocked
him
you.
so many warnings, so many warnings, and he just kept going.
Yeah.
But yeah, with the blue check mark on Twitter, it gives you a wide range of benefits that you don't have as a free pleb. Like I am. I consider myself a free pleb,
Yeah.
independent of, fame or people knowing who I am. And you've only got the 140 whatever character limit it is. But if you've got a blue check, you can go on for
Yeah.
screens of nonsense. And it obviously pushes everything out. And a lot of what I see on there, after the Stanley Blunt incident, I started creating some accounts that followed right-wing accounts. So now I wake up in the morning and I just turn on my phone and see what to get cross about.
Yeah. Do you know what? There's actually no need that, because now Elon has fully revealed himself as the right wing narcissist that he is. The feed. So I have I have a couple of accounts. I actually have 4 Twitter accounts at the moment. One is me, Geoff Jones. One is for the podcast, which I forget that to do, and most of it goes through the me account. So I kind of try and I'm getting better at it. But I've got 2 for other projects coming up in the new year. One that you're going to be on, which is Look Who's Laughing, and one called Bandits Free, which is they're both similar projects. It's about those kind of unsigned. One's music, one's comedy. Just looking at the almost the grassroots or the people who are doing their thing and just need highlighter. Anyway, that's a terrible sales pitch. But those 2, so they're set up at the moment, but they're not doing anything. So, but what's happening is I still get these notifications, and it's all just right wing, or say right wing, far right, however you want to put it. Oh, Trump's great at this. Oh, but Biden and Harris are terrible at that. And it, to me, that screams it's just being pushed out because these accounts haven't done anything. I haven't liked anything. I haven't looked at anything. They're just sat. So for the notifications to be formed that way, and what's being pushed to me that is desperate for these accounts to interact with, is suggesting that either it wants me to be angry because I'm a lefty and it wants me to engage that way, or it's trying to promote what these people are saying as a positive. But there's never any pro Democrat because it's all kind of American politics. There's no pro Democrat. It's all either anti-Democrat or pro Trump.
Yeah, it does seem a
that's
little bit like
terrible.
he's watched the Bond film, the Pierce Brosnan Bond film, Tomorrow Never Dies, where the media mogul is trying to control the narrative of the entire world.
Yes.
But what I missed in Tomorrow Never Dies were the part where the media mogul has a paddy because people who don't agree with his views withdraw their advertising from the platform and he tries to sue them.
Yeah.
What? How is that going to work?
Yeah.
Surely he's a billionaire. He's got to have some lawyers who would just go, look, you are on a hiding to nothing. This is a waste of your time. By all means, pay me. Why don't you just
Yeah.
pay me and we don't even do this? I'll give you half rate. You can give me $500,000. I'll do nothing.
I don't know. I would be happily be like, okay, do you want this in billable hours? We'll put all the work in to see if there's a loophole. We're not going to guarantee anything, but we will put in hundreds of hours. And just have everyone there eating sandwiches, be like, guys, we are made. Like, I mean, I've seen this. I haven't looked into it because I do try and step back from politics because I used to be probably too submerged in it, and I'll be honest with you, it wasn't great for me just seeing this constant arguing. I used to go, on all the social media, I would be very opinionated. I'd always respect others though. So I'm happy. I like having a debate, but it's when people resort to lies and don't see it. And then there was a point I just thought, you know what? Actually, I'm pissing in the wind here. There's no benefit to me. Like one comment I always say is like when you see someone you've known for 20, 30 years and you've literally seen them vomit on food and then eat it because they're that drunk, and you're trying to talk to them about politics and they think they're right, and you're like, no, do you know what? I'm not going to take advice from you. Like I'm not. I don't think you're right in this situation, and I've seen you at your worst and know what you're prepared to do, and then talk your way out of it. So I did kind of make that decision to step away from just getting too ingrained. So I know this is the talking point that Elon's trying to sue people for getting off their for not advertising. But is that because they've broken contract, or just because they're choosing not to? Because like, do you know much more about it?
I haven't really done a deep delve on it. From my understanding of it, it's the fact that they've chosen not to advertise on the platform anymore.
It's
Because it
mental.
started, I think the first time I heard about it was it Apple withdrawing their advertising about 6 months ago, and then a load of other people followed suit when he started really building the tinfoil hat.
Yeah, bragging about 12 million a month to Trump campaign or something like that. I mean, you
Yeah,
as a business model, like for start, like he bought Twitter. He for as what's kind of been what you call an overpriced amount.
yeah, 47 billion, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean it's nice to have, like, but what all he's done is turn it in. Yeah, he don't charge people, and there's lots of people who pay for it. So I know he's recouping somehow. I guess he fired loads of people because they didn't agree with his. Yeah, and obviously he made them the bad guys. But the worst is there's only a finite amount of people who believe in Donald Trump and even those kind of far right conservatives. And I now I see him talking more about British politics. He must be rubbing his hands at things
Hmm.
that have happened because I've seen him just tell barefaced lies over what's kind of happened in the recent weeks over here with kind of rioting, etc. And I think at some point we're gonna it's gonna come to a point. Trump will be long gone. It's highly unlikely the Republicans will have someone as extreme as him again. Yeah, I'm not saying in views, but that showmanship that he puts on to kind of this whole MAGA thing. It's unlikely
Hmm.
that that will continue. So what's his end game? Because at some point, like we saw with there's a guy on Fox News who at one point started criticizing Trump, and so he was basically booed up. Like they got rid of it. He was really it looked like a Lego man, a horrible guy, but like he's gone. Like people will drop him. His base will drop him. Now I hate the fact that I've got Twitter. I've got some fantastic connections I've made on it, so I can't drop it. But I just don't like what it is now at all. And at some point, it's going to come to a head, and he's going to either have to change his stance and political and what he puts out there, or sell the company at a massive loss. Because whatever he's trying to do, whatever political favors he's trying to gain, is going to turn around and bite him in the ass eventually. Sorry, that's my. I just gone a little bit of a rant then about it all, but I think it's a horrible place now. And it used to be fantastic. Twitter. It used to be a really good source of connecting with people and being a part of things. It's just got horrible.
And I think the thing that really rubs me up the wrong way the most about Musk banging on about freedom of speech is the freedom of speech is only if it's not speech criticizing him. So
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of stories about accounts being closed down for being anti-Elon. And like you say about stuff being pushed out without wanting it on there. I don't follow him on any of my profiles, but every day I see whatever brain fart he's had comes up on my feed. Can you imagine if you had that with any other company?
Mm. Right.
Richard Branson tells you what he had for breakfast.
That's yeah. On you're there on Virgin Airways. Ah, we are traveling at 35,000 feet. Mr. Branson today had a poached egg. We hope you enjoy your flight. And like, yeah, it's it is. He's a child, but that's what when you've got billions. What else you do? Like he's untouchable generally. Like in his mind, as some he'd either close Twitter or they'll end up because they had there's another thing. So they had Trump went off when he was banned previously. Like another who was so I had guys in season 2 from the Who Takes the Socks Off podcast, and they called it Prelon. And like yeah, okay, so we are Prelon, so pre Elon Musk on Twitter. Obviously Trump was banned for hate speech, so he went over to I don't know.
Well, he started his own, didn't he? He started Truth
Yeah,
Social.
Truth Social. That's the one. But is that still a thing? Because now surely Twitter is just Truth Social. Like it's
And I think that is part of the new marketing strategy is once Trump managed to start Truth Social up and have all of his MAGA fanatics join that, it impacted the numbers that were still on Twitter. But one thing that I found quite amusing, because I dabble in the old stock market, and Truth Social, when it went out, the IPO, I think in the first 48 hours, it doubled in value. And all of these MAGA lunatics they weren't donating, they were buying stock in Truth Social. And then it fell through the floor and it was trading for about a quarter of what it opened for. And it's just another example of the rug pull from
Mm.
Trump and everyone who's, well, I mean, delving well off into away from social media here, but Farage and the good old Reform Party. A couple of months back, I saw one pre-election about their what was it? It wasn't an AGM, although it should be because it's a company, not a political party.
Yeah.
But it was they had a rally in Birmingham, and normally for a political rally, you'd expect it just to be turn up, show your support for the cause. They were charging £50 a ticket
Oh my God.
for people to come along. And you just think, why are you giving your money to these people?
It's the physical version of blue ticking, isn't it? Yeah, yes, Elon.
Yeah.
Look how much I love you, Elon. Here's my money. It's the same. It's exactly the same thing, and but in physical form. And I wouldn't do that. It's almost that kind of Americanized. And I know, obviously, all political parties that you have that you become a member, and but you don't have to pay entry to go and see your local party member at a food bank. Like it's just
No, I'm pretty sure the guy that took a shot at Trump didn't have to pay admission for that.
yeah. That was I don't know whether to touch on that that or not.
Might not make the edit, but it's
It
out
might
there.
not, it might not make the edit. And so we don't, because we don't usually get political on the show. Like, well, we get political, we can talk politics, but certainly not against kind of specific people and things. But
Hmm.
I do, and I do think, and that everything's got a lot more. The world has got, well, social media and real world is a lot more divided because of your Trumps and your Farages and the Elons, people that have money and a platform. Boris, even though I think he was probably just told what to say, and then when he went off script, just up even more. Like these people, their whole idea is just to disrupt. And don't get me wrong, I think politically the world needs a bit of disruption because everything gets a bit too comfortable, and it's always us people kind of swimming around at the bottom who gets crapped on. But there's a way of ruffling political feathers and making people cause action, and there's a difference between that and stirring hate and misinformation and just trying to get people to vote for you because you're angry about something, and
Yeah,
all you
absolutely.
do
I mean,
is
disruption
fuel
doesn't
more anger.
necessarily mean it's a negative thing. It just means that the status quo is not going to continue.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you do that through hate rather than actually trying to just to, throw it in a make things better, like what's the benefit? It has to be a personal gain, because if you're dividing people to get people to support you, that's not the benefit of a town, a city, a country, yeah, a planet. Like if you're dividing people, that's a personal gain there. If you're trying to actually come together to talk to people, and I hate this whole left and right and two-party political systems, and just because, and even if you look at it, like reform is just a further extension of the Tories. Yeah, just the realms that the Tories refused to go, or when they got too close to it, were voted out. Like if people started coming together and trying to look at the problems or your perceived problems, because I appreciate as well, even with everything that's been going on in this country, people have a worry. And instead of inciting the conversation through hate, people should ask questions and have conversations. And do you know what? If you think there's a lot of immigration and they're here taking our jobs whilst also at the same time claiming our benefits, well, let's have a conversation about that. Because neither are the case. And
Yeah, one of these things could be true, but not both of them at the same time.
exactly. And as soon as you realize that, like, oh, illegal immigrants come here and take all the benefits, but how if they're illegal and not in the system? Like, they cut my wife worked in benefit for 15 years, and she sees things and she's like, it's it doesn't happen. Yes, they may get a little one bedroom somewhere to put them up whilst they're deciding what's being done with them. And yeah, that is a political situation that needs to be dealt with. But they don't come and claim get benefits because they are illegal immigrants. Like the clue's in the title there. Now, refugees, people whose houses have been bombed and families have been murdered. Do you know what? I'm quite happy if they want to come and we give them a better war of life. Then do it. But people don't separate the two. I'm also happy for illegal immigrants to come here, go through documentation, and live it. Like, but it's that scaremongering and misinformation or lack of information or not full information, and people just eat it up because they don't care if they're right
Yeah,
or wrong. It feeds
nobody
into
is
their
prepared to
belief.
do, and amazingly, considering how many of the conspiracy theorists that do populate social media will tell you to do your own research, none of them do. They just retweet, parrot, put out the same stuff. And
Yeah.
like we used to think in the 80s, we used to think that the robots that were going to kill us was Arnie, Terminator 1, Terminator 2. No, it's the Russian bots that are pushing out all of
Yeah.
this nonsense in the wake of those horrendous stabbings the other day. Straight
Terrible.
away, oh, this is the guy's name. No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
nothing to do with it. But it's just that we're firing it out, and then you've got people, Mr. F, saying, "Oh, it's because Andrew Tate put out a status saying I got advice from Andrew Tate." Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Unless you're trying to start a human trafficking business, why would you take any advice from Andrew Tate?
That's the, and hang on, he was actually charged as well and convicted, so we don't have to say alleged. I think I don't know if I'm ever
That's
going to
right.
get
Yeah, I believe
sued,
he's awaiting
but
trial wherever he is at the moment.
yeah, probably in a country that doesn't have extradition.
Yeah,
Um,
it's all right because I think they're going to put him on trial over there for it as well,
oh,
from my
fantastic!
understanding, allegedly, etc. Disclaimer.
And that's what happened. And people say, well, why aren't they releasing it? If he was white, he would have had his name released. And yet you say no, because first of all, the media aren't allowed to release the name, first of all, of someone under 18 years old, like without it actually being charges being brought forward. Second of all, there's also due diligence. Now, just because it's not, GB News or Fox News or Andrew Tate or someone, like there's actual legal legal processes that these that
Yeah, and
official
it's
media
rules that are
outlets.
in place to protect everyone. Yeah, as you say, if they're under 18, until they've been convicted, they can't be named. That's just
Exact.
the way it is for everyone. It doesn't matter whether you're black, brown, white, a mushroom, a banana, whatever, you're not going to be named.
No.
And then it's straight away, why aren't they releasing the name? If it was a white guy, they'd have told you the name. Da, 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 da. If they were English, they'd have told you his name. Well, surprise, surprise, the guy's Christian from Wales.
Yeah. And that's
Wow,
the
now
thing.
you look stupid, don't you? But in the meantime, you've robbed Greg's and Shoe Zone. Well done, boys.
Yeah, down with shoe zone. Ridiculous. But then we also saw in the same very same week the Olympics were going on, and there was the female boxer had name
Oh, the lady with
Emma.
the XXY,
Yeah,
or was it XYY?
and within so the her opponent pulled out within 20 seconds. Now no one had a clue at this point in
I tell
time.
you, I pulled out in 20 seconds sometimes.
But no, no one had a clue why, right? And then the opponent was like, "Oh, I got this punch. I've never felt anything like it." All of a sudden, news, yeah, people kind of in the know. So, well, back in 2022, there was she was basically she's a man because of some drug test. Anyway, so people are like, right, okay, man, right. So trans, oh, we're anti-trans, we're anti this. You shouldn't be, men shouldn't be boxing. And there's this whole thing. This poor woman's there, just like, I didn't actually do anything. And it then turns out a week later, so once the news cycle is kind of done and dusted, and all the hate is gone, and all the online abuse for this poor woman has subsided, it comes out, well, actually, what happened was there's some kind of hidden documents of a hidden test, and a Russian backed competition basically wanted, like, she beat the undefeated Russian
It's
boxer.
like Rocky beating Drago.
Yeah, like so this Russian federation was like, yeah, no, or Russian backed federation was like, yeah, we don't want that. So yeah, this is, she broke the rules. But it's all signed, so no one knows anything about it. Yet all of a sudden the whole world's decided that she's trans and it's not fair, but just to feel that hate. And this all happened in the same week that, yeah, these the just a horrible situation that happened with those poor kids. But the murderer was said, right, he's an immigrant. He was an immigrant. He was Muslim. There's this, and none of it's true. But people, it fed the machine. But everyone else goes on with their life. Yeah, don't get, okay. Maybe not the people robbing Greg's. They decided, and yeah, thank God for the people who also stood up for these absolute idiots who were trying to target mosques and families and all this, because it's horrific what people can do in the name of fake outrage. But essentially, the news cycle ends, and most normal people who did feed into the machine just go on and get about their lives. And
Until
they
the next one that comes up that they want to chip in on.
exactly, and they've
And then
shared.
again, that comes back to the lack of expertise, making everyone think that they're, the mutt's nuts.
Yeah, I saw someone. Yeah, they shared something, and it was Andrew Tate talks about the the murdered children, and you're like, well, hang on. First of all, he's in his so he's in his car recording. I've just heard this is happening in Britain. And someone shared it, and it's. I don't think it's because they're. I think it was because of ignorance, not because of hate towards Muslims or immigration or anything like that. I think they just kind of took their news from Andrew Tate
Mm.
and didn't think this is Andrew Tate.
Yeah, they saw
But
something that they thought they wanted to be true, so somebody else had said it, so they went, "Oh yeah, I agree with that. That's the truth."
yeah.
And I'm as much as I hate social media, something that I really love about it is the intense feelings of Schadenfreude that you can get from it. Like we saw the video of the guy during the riots taking a brick in the head and then turning around and getting another one straight
Ah,
in the spuds. That
it's,
was
it
excellent.
was
The
beautiful.
the only moment that was better than that was when, after Andrew Tate had sent out that tweet about who the alleged attacker was, he started getting abuse about his race on Twitter,
Oh
and he
my
was
God.
shocked.
And
And I just want to clarify there, in the case of any ambiguity, I don't agree with racial abuse, but if you happen to be Andrew Tate, who is a Muslim man, and you're stoking the fires, don't be surprised when you get your toes burnt.
that is, I love that during all this happening, and there were some kind of Reform Party members who were non-white, and they were saying this is for I support this is for the country, and people were very rightly saying, look, people who want to have a conversation about it are not on the streets causing violence and unrest and damage. These people, if you and your children went out during the middle of this, you would be targeted because they're not checking your credentials. They're
Mm,
checking the color of your skin. And that's how you know it's not about politics. It's not about immigration. It's not about religion. It's a purely this, and it is small. And I do think that good old Tommy Robinson and his, was orchestrating just gangs going from place to place to stir up, to start the violence. Allegedly, because I haven't got proof, but that's how these things work. You have the instigators, you have that militant sector of a right wing or left wing. I mean, it's a lot different, I suppose, sitting on the M25 because you want to stop fracking than it
exactly. You've
is
got just stop
smashing
oil on
Greg's
one
in.
side and just start fires on the other.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you know, I wasn't expecting though. We got this is we got pretty political. And this will be so for anyone who does this regularly, they'll know this is there, but I think it's important. Like, and I do want to maintain that I've always been for the same, especially someone like Trump. Well, when Trump was in power, not now because he's gone to some kind of, my kids say Super Saiyan level. I don't know what that means. I
Dragon
think
Ball
it's
Z, man.
Dragon Ball
Super
Z
Saiyan is
rated.
when
Okay.
your hair goes blonde and
And you
you
go
punch
full
through the
power,
moon.
right?
Yeah.
That you punch through the moon. That's it. So he's since kind of since being defeated in his second term, he has gone this kind of Super Saiyan level of just nuts. But I do know American people. I know American Trump supporters. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of them are still blinded. I say blinded. A lot of people are bought into what he's saying, right? And as a human being, that's your right. Okay, as long as you're not hurting someone, that's still, I guess, that's your right. And what I always used to say was, it did, because they said, oh, the fuel price is lower than it has been for forever. This is better. That's better. I've got more money. The problem is, for any good that he did or claimed to have done, which could have been a follow-on from the Obama administration, or it could be things he built, we don't know, because he's so full of shit. You don't, like, his tenure was tarred. He could have done great things. We don't know because the guy's an absolute moron.
Mm.
And
And
this,
what world are we living in when the presidential debate came down to, I've got a better golf average than you, your handicap's worse than mine, I've seen you drive, you can't drive.
that is a fantastic impression.
And thank you very much. Spend a lot of time working on the Trump.
I've never been able to get it. I feel like it should have been easy, but I've never been able to get it. That was
Just got to
really
turn your
good.
brain off. It becomes quite simple. Walked in the room. I thought there's a lot of Trump supporters here. I said, wow, there's a lot of Trump supporters here. But anyway, we've got well off the topic of social media. I've still got two more that I just want to cover off
Okay,
because I
that's
think actually that's a lie. It's three. We'll do the first one very quickly, which is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the worst sort of social media because it's the sort of social media that you've got to use if you're employed in any sort of corporate environment because you've got to basically blow smoke up your boss's backside the entire time. It is all about simping on the company that you work for, or it's ridiculous stories like I just cheated on my wife and shot my friend's dog. Here's what I learned about business to business marketing. It is utter unfounded nonsense. I have never seen worse fiction than I have in the columns on LinkedIn. It's even worse than the AI generated So I Had Sex with a Tyrannosaurus Rex book that you can get on Amazon. So I've been told, don't own a copy, but I believe it
I love
exists.
those. I love those books. Well, I
Yeah.
love the fact they exist.
Love
Um,
in the time of dinosaurs.
yeah, but also with LinkedIn as well, it's exactly that. It's like, simping for the company you work for, and then eventually realizing, "No, I don't want to work for these people anymore, so I'm going to start simping for the next company." And this is now the best place you've ever worked. And it was, and I mean, my LinkedIn is purely recruiters because I don't know. I've never been the person to be like, "Hey, we've done that," and I know I should kind of get further in the working world or whatever it is, but I just have recruiters on there. So when it's time to move on or I get made redundant for the fourth time, it's like, yeah, what's out there? But you see so much, and it's like, what? just like, this person, started with they found a bottle cap in the middle of the jungle, and then within 12 years had planted 19 billion trees. And you're like, how did you get from one to a bottle cap to the trees? And also, this person still looks miserable. Like it doesn't like well done. That's inspirational, but how does that help me?
Oh, one I saw the other day that really made me laugh. It was courtesy of Reddit, LinkedIn Lunatics, which is one of my favorite subreddits to go on. And it was I bought my son Joe an ice cream the other day. He took one lick and then spilt it on the floor. He was upset. The place offered him to replace the ice cream free of
I've seen
charge.
it.
And I told them not to
No.
because Joe needs to learn that sometimes your ice cream hits the floor and all you can do is weep like a little bitch.
I've seen it. I've seen that one. I'm like, dude, buy your kid or let your kid have the ice cream.
Mm,
Like, it does, and it's such it's the motivational speakers version of Twitter. Like the amount of
yeah.
just nonsense that goes on, and people. Do you know what? And this is kind of almost the real world. My real world example of LinkedIn. I worked for a company and we had Ant Middleton as a
Mm,
speaker for the for the congress we had. So we had a congress, and we're kind of pretty much it was all commercials, all sales, and he spent 45 minutes telling us about being in combat and how he was bursting through this door and there's a guy with a machine gun the other side, and his he was scared, but then his uh, comrade or whatever it is just put his fellow soldier put his hands on his shoulder, and he knew that someone had his back, so he burst through this door, and they did their business, and it was great. And I was sat there thinking, I'm a salesman. Like, how on earth is this relevant to me
Do you know what I was thinking? As soon as
at
you said
all?
his comrade put his hand on his shoulder and I knew he had my back. No, you knew he was going to use you as a human shield if he
Yeah,
had to. He
he's
was going to
pushing.
catch
Yeah.
every one of those bullets with your body and then cap the bad guy.
Take all the glory and then
Yeah.
mourn you for publicity. Maybe, but I just thought I this has no relevance. Like, if anything, it made me feel really inadequate. The fact that I once abandoned my own child in a room with a wasp, as I fled. Um, but that was the kind of the real world LinkedIn, right? It was this whole story, which was yeah, obviously true. I mean, the guy, yeah, love him or hate him, has done things, right? And those things need to be respected. But for my company to then pay all all this, actually didn't have a clue who he was. It wasn't until after I watched SAS, who I don't know, so one of these kind of things where you put normal people through SAS training, which is really good.
Mm.
Yeah. But I had no idea who he was, and I just thought, wow, this is like this is LinkedIn. Like, this is someone who I don't know telling me how great they are because they once saved an entire family from a bear. But it's that thing. LinkedIn is great if you love it, but I think you've got to be that business minds. Like, you've got to be that kind of person, and it's not for comedians. Let's face it.
No, I think you've really got to approach LinkedIn with all drive, no personality, really, to get the most out of it.
Yeah, missionary position. That's what LinkedIn is. All drive, no ambition.
Um, yeah, the
Yeah.
next one on my hit list is TikTok. And TikTok is becoming a necessary evil for anyone that wants to sort of have any sort of following, just because the general decline in people's intelligence and attention span has been accelerated so much by this platform. But I hate the way that TikTok is now bleeding into other areas. So it started with TikTok, then you've got Instagram Reels, then you've got YouTube Shorts, and it's all the same
Mhm.
content. So my kid, who doesn't have a TikTok account, has got access to my YouTube. He watches TikToks on YouTube Shorts. and he's still getting the same thing. Like for a while, every time my son said a sentence to me, it sounded like this because that's what he'd been listening to on YouTube. And that was annoying. But what winds me up the most is my my lovely girlfriend and her equally lovely daughter are brilliant in many ways. However, her daughter regularly in public with no shame starts doing TikTok dances.
Oh,
She'll be
oh.
stood there and you get all the it's like the Macarena for the special needs class.
Wait, is
That's what it
she?
looks like.
Wait, so like recording herself doing it, or
No, no,
just
she's not
doing it?
recording it. She's not even recording it.
I
She just
get.
does the dances. She'll
I.
get bored and she'll start doing them. And it's got to the point now where I've had to go, can you stop? You look like a dick. If you carry on doing that, I'm going to walk away and leave you in Tesco's.
I will look for Andrew Tate and say, right, that's it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, because it was fortnight dances as well for my lad.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think
Yeah,
that's how it all started, and from there, it just bled out into everything. And it'll be people doing dances in the middle of a crossing. And
yeah.
every now and then you'll see a video of one of them getting hit by a car, and that does make it worthwhile. But by and large, I'm not happy with it.
I was a guest on a one of my favorite podcasts called the Bar Banter Podcast, and they kind of take small things and but just talk it through. It's kind of like this, but it's more, I don't know, like the things like rate the Muppets in a battle royale, like if that's fight. And one thing is we were talking about was TikTok dances, and I was like TikTok, or my point was TikTok dances is probably the worst thing that could happen. Like I don't TikTok, so I have a TikTok account because at one point I was like, yeah, attack all social media. And I went on it and I was like, oh, I can't dance. Like, and that's all it was just brothers, sisters, partners, mothers, daughters, and they're all
In the word of
the
Backstreet Boys, it is brothers, sisters, everybody swing. Dun, 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 dun.
it's like first of all, I can't dance. Like I have no talent outside of being able to talk, right? I can't dance, I can't sing, I can't, I have very little ability to do anything. So maybe I'm just jealous and I appreciate that. But the amount of people that dance, oh, I've tried this trend. Everyone keeps asking me to try this trend. No, no one is. No one's asking you to try any trend. You're doing it because you're trying to force your child into the spotlight because everyone's now finally realizing that beauty pageants and all this kind of stuff is a bit weird. And you're just using Instagram to try and monetize, I don't know, just dancing. And I hate it. And and I know I should, and maybe this is just me showing my age. I really, really loathe anyone over 30 setting up a mobile phone, spending hours learning a dance just for Instagram. If you're a professional dancer and you do it for, you're in the ballet or you are in music videos or you're teaching people, that's fine. And if it's a dance school, there's this. Do you know what? I'm really sorry. I have no idea what the name is, but there is. It keeps blowing up on my social media. It's like these African kids, and they just do this most amazing choreographed thing. They're standing in mud. There's one kid who pretends to be like a DJ desk, like mix desk, but it's
Mm.
made out of like cardboard and wood. But they do this most amazing. That is amazing because these kids have nothing but just wanting to put joy to the world, and they have a talent, and I love it. When you see some American in a just massive house because they're all massive for some reason, and they're in their pajamas and like, oh, we just thought we'd try this out. I hate it. I just, and I especially when it's like over 30-year-olds, and you're like, oh, please. Like that, I appreciate the irony that I'm a 42-year-old dude with a podcast. I'm trying to do something with it, and yeah, with stand up and with these things that I am essentially being a content creator. But I understand my stereotype. I know I'm a 40-plus-year-old white dude with a podcast. That's what we do. I wear my divorced dad shirts, as my daughter calls it, and I talk nonsense, right? But I cannot get over this loathing for TikTok dances. And it's unhealthy for me.
I think
Not
the way that I look at the TikTok dancing, right, is if you were stood in the middle of the town square with a hat at your feet doing a TikTok dance, people would be far more likely to throw tomatoes at you than throw a coin in your hat.
yeah.
And they'd be saying, piss off, you attention whore. Nobody cares that you can do a little shuffle.
Yeah. Boo. That's not a
Yeah,
boo.
put them in the
Like,
stocks.
like, hey, go on a talent show, televisionized
Yeah,
talent
go
show.
on Britain's Got Talent so I can see your spirit break when they buzz you off instantly.
Because everyone's doing it as well. And it's, yeah, one person creates a dance, and that person should be celebrated. Someone has created a choreograph for a song. Hey, well done you for being creative. But then
Mm.
you have a million people. Oh, I'm just going to see if I can do this new trend. It's great, but has the person who created it actually, they're not, and maybe this is the content creator side coming out of, is are that it that person's never mentioned. They didn't say this. It's not a trend of this person created this, the choreographed and created this
Mm.
dance. I'm going to try it. It's just all about that person.
Yeah, and it's like every now and then I'll go along to an open mic night that's run at one of the places in town that's largely a music open mic night. And I'll go there just because I know it's a relatively difficult room, but the people there listen. So if you get laughs, you know you've got good material. So
Yeah.
it's not an easy room because they're not ready for comedy, but generally the host gets them to shut up. And quite often at open mic nights, 9 times out of 10, you'll see people doing covers of
Yeah.
songs written by professionals, well-known songs, polished and polished and polished and honed, and all they've done is learn the chords or the tab, and they play it and they get a round of applause.
Yeah.
And like you said, with dances, you can do a dance that somebody else has created. If you do it well, if you get a round of applause. If you go on stage and you start telling Jimmy Carr jokes, anyone that's got a clue, will go, that's not your material. What are you doing?
Yeah.
I think it's one of the few creative arts where you have to own the entirety of what you're producing, which is what makes it so, equally brilliant and utterly soul destroying at times.
Yeah, it's creating. I've always said that comedy is probably a lot of people would disagree, especially if they are, I
Yeah,
don't know.
doctors.
Well, in creative form, yeah. Oh yeah. No, I mean, compared to brain surgery, comedy is very difficult. No, but to be able to get up there to, especially a lukewarm crowd, um, like being the first person, or if you've got maybe not a great MC, or if it's not a soul comedy night, if people aren't expecting that, getting a laugh out of someone. And I tell you what, as we've spent the last hour or so just saying it, like hate and anger and annoyance and I don't like this is so much easier to react to than, oh, that was good. Now I'm one of those really annoying people who it takes a lot to make me proper laugh. You've done it a few times on this, but I'm like the silent laugh. I'm like, oh, that was really good.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, this is hilarious. I'm like, oh, it is. He said, well, why aren't you laughing? I'm like, oh, I am. Just like I express it in different ways. But to get that, to draw that emotion out of someone, because, and again, singer-songwriters are going to hate me, but you can play a love song and people will react to the tone and the words and the accompaniments and things. You think they may not listen. Like if talking with sales, LinkedIn,
Hmm.
like what you say is such a small part of what people react to. But as a comedian, that's your biggest tool, unless you're a Lee Evans or someone like that who throws himself around. So if you can draw laughter from 75% of a room based on your speech, which is only 20% of what they're actually listening to, or 10% of what they're actually listening to, that's huge. And that's why comedy, stand-up comedy, is, especially in a room, like, okay, if someone's going to pay 50 quid to go and listen to a Lee Evans or Jimmy Carr or to whoever it is, you're going there for that. But as a working comic doing open mics or multiple comedian shows, it's really difficult. So that's why I love having comedians on here, and that's why we're going to do the Look Who's Laughing, because it should be celebrated more. I gave it up because I didn't have the patience to write new material and constantly trying to be funny. So anyway, sorry, I've got on a soapbox. I keep getting on a soapbox with this one. Right. Okay. TikTok dances. What
And
is
the final one, just to round things off again, and it all feeds into this, the artificiality of social media, is Instagram. And Instagram, I think, is one of the worst platforms for the influencer. They've spread to TikTok now, but Instagram was the place that they would be. So everyone knows what an influencer is. It's, for instance, a woman who goes on holiday for a week with 25 different bikinis, takes hundreds of pictures of herself around different locations in the hotel, and then pretends that she lives in that country. It's the sort of person that will airbrush their backside to look better whilst warping the background of what they're in. And Instagram is all about false perception of reality, to the extent it gives people massively unrealistic expectations. Like, I can't believe my cat isn't as funny as the ones I see on Instagram.
yeah, why is my cat so crap?
Yeah, I
I
don't want a
hate
crap cat. I
I
want
hate my cat. My cat took a dump at 4 o'clock in the morning this morning, and it stank the whole house out. She's an outside cat. We have a cat litter box just in case, but once every 6 months, she does a crap in the box, and it stinks purely. And I'm sure it's just to annoy me. I'm
she's used to
sure
stinking outside the box.
she's she go. You just wait. I'm sure it was just. And oh God, I hate my cat. Um, you're right. So I've got Instagram at Better with Jeff. Um, it's just me because I didn't know how to do it. Like I don't suit a bikini, and I
Oh, don't
don't
do
go
yourself
any.
down.
Well,
Give it.
I mean,
Go
there's
on, we've
probably
got
a
time. Go and put
market.
one on now.
It'll be the thumbnail for the episode, and I don't really, go anywhere. Like I can't wear a bikini to Tesco's. So I was like, well, how am I going to utilize Instagram to, I don't know, try and get any traction for the podcast and for what I'm doing and my creative thing. So all it is me walking my dog, and I have conversations with my dog, but I play both parts, obviously, because he can't actually talk. And I'm like, and people, the problem that's come with this is people are like, love your chats with Neville. I'm like, oh yeah, have you listened to the podcast? Like, no. So you just like Neville? Like, yeah. Oh, okay. So it had no desired effect at all. But I have to now keep up this thing that me and Neville are friends, who's my rescue dog, who hates me as much as the cat hates me. And it's all
Yeah,
just
no, I
really
mean,
sad.
again, that's just the sort of the attention span of reduction in attention span. I'll watch your clip because that's a couple of minutes. I won't listen to an
Hmm.
entire hour of a podcast because that's an hour.
Yeah.
But I mean, with all the driving to gigs and stuff, podcasts are ideal because it stops you zoning out. And quite often, like, I'll listen to No Such Thing as a Fish, which is the QI podcast. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, it will prompt really random little ideas based off the stuff that they talked about or things that I've never considered before. And it's being comfortable enough to come away from the scrolly, um what's the word? I was going to say the diazepam spout, but that's not the one. That's what I've got in the cupboard. The brain chemical, the happy chemical,
Oh,
dopamine. Come
dopamine.
away from the scrolling dopamine spout. And it's once you're hooked on it, it's so hard to get off of it.
Yeah. I know. I don't. I used to be able to scroll on Twitter. Now my tolerance for it is a lot less. Same with Facebook because there's so many adverts and random people. Instagram, I still find is at least it's a happier place than other social medias. But it's obviously fake. What I hate is this regurgitation and this mind-numbing. I can fit an algorithm,
Yeah,
and I
because
can,
it's part of the human condition that we all want to create. And creating is one of the things that gives us purpose and gives us satisfaction
yeah,
and that dopamine. But it's not true creation when all you're doing is parroting somebody else's
no,
work. Yeah, it's skill, it's time, it's dedication, discipline, and honing it.
yeah,
And it's not just copying somebody else's dance with a slightly different hashtag and a different bit of music and then hitting the viral button.
yeah. And that's I also I do have, and same with music. I love a cover. I love a unique cover.
Mm.
Someone who has taken the one and thought, "Do you know what, this is, I love this, but also what if it was done like this?" There's a couple of people, there's one on Instagram, again, can't think of the guy's name, but he does rock covers or like heavy death metal covers
Mm.
of non-heavy death metal fans.
I think I
Um,
know the guy because I've seen quite a bit of stuff
it's
on
glasses, blonde hair,
Leo.
looks like he should be working in IT,
Mm.
and then just it's amazing. Um, the season 2 finale had I had Ramadan from the band Steven Seagulls. Now, if you're not aware of are you aware
I
of
like him
Steven
already.
Seagulls? Yeah, it's Steve and Seagulls, as in the
Yeah,
verb. But they do bluegrass, so kind of banjos and kind
yeah.
of, yeah, that American tone. They're a Finnish band. Um, but I mean, I'm obsessed with it, and I always go. It's 10 years old, but they did a cover of Thunderstruck, and it's amazing. 170 million views on YouTube. Like they're huge in what they do. Listen to them, and you kind of, that's my thing. Okay, these guys have listened to a song, but using the craft that they have spent years developing,
Yeah.
have put this on.
And I think
That's
that's
what.
the best way to do a cover is to bring some new life to it and do it in a way that suits what you do.
Yeah.
Like there's a group called Scott Bradley's Postmodern Jukebox.
Yeah. Oh, I love Postmodern Jukebox.
So
I'm
so
desperate to get
many
them on.
fantastic covers of songs done in a way that you never would have thought would work.
Yeah, I
And
love them.
it's something that is additive rather than derivative.
Yeah.
I think that's what we should aim for is to be additive rather than derivative or divisive.
Yeah. And do you know what? That is a perfect, and that's going to be the soundbite to the episode. And probably a perfect place to call it. I mean, that is it. I mean, we've covered so much, so much in this episode. But it's been a great kind of talking point, and it shows how all these things interlink, from politics and social media and divisiveness, and how I think a lot of people just forget. People use social media to escape the real world. And that is okay because the real world sometimes isn't great. But it's how you react to that, your online persona, and what you can think, well, I'm 100% original. I'm putting this out there. But you could be reacting to someone who's not 100% original, and they're just trying to hit the algorithm. They're trying to benefit
Mhm.
themselves. They're trying to, or they're trying to divide people. Just be, I think that just be true to who you are. Be a good person. Look after your family. Look after your dog. If you want to learn a TikTok dance, that's fine. Don't expect it to get 10 million views, but do expect people to think you're a bit of a knob. That's okay. Um,
Absolutely.
and watch more comedy, because the one thing you can guarantee with comedy, unless they're a complete hack, is everything is original. Just think for
I've always
yourself.
believed in comedy, you can say whatever you like, but you've got to make sure that it's a well-written joke.
I don't know, Glenn. Right. I mean, I feel well, okay. I'll tell you what, actually, I was nearly called, but so we spoke for an awfully long time. But how do we make social media better? That's that's what you're here to do. You've moaned, we've moaned, we've gone off on one. But
So I think that the way you got to make it better is that get rid of the anonymity. If you've got the convictions to back up what you're saying, then say it under your own name. I mean, on all of my social media accounts, even on my Reddit account, which is anonymous anyway, I'm not afraid to say what I believe in. I've linked my Reddit account to events that I'm running. There's nothing on there that I wouldn't want people to see because
yeah,
that's how I am. Um, Give people an intelligence test, show them stuff that's clearly AI, explain to them how the echo chamber works, explain to them that doing your own research isn't watching one video from somebody who looks like he's done 20 kilos of chop on YouTube, sat outside of a restaurant in Greece. Don't take advice from Andrew Tate as to
oh
who suspects are in UK events. And at the end of the day, be kind, explore other people's ideas, be
yeah,
open to critique, look into other people's counterclaims of what you do. Don't just shoot it all down because it's not what you agree with.
yeah.
Don't be like Stanley Blunt. Don't insult people for the sake of insulting them. Particularly, don't insult comedians because they're always going to win. Particularly if your surname rhymes with the C word.
I mean
Don't
that
do it.
you're not gonna. I mean, why would you?
I know.
Stanley, come on, if Stanley, if you listen to this ever, someone get Stanley because he needs to know he needs to shut up. Anyone, if your name rhymes with that word, you're instantly losing any argument.
Absolutely. And I just had to think what his life was like at school.
Well, maybe that's why he's so angry. Um, Good. Thank you. I mean, yeah, personally, I think social media. I think you're right with the anonymity. There's not wait for people to apply for verification or pay for verification. I think just verify people. Like have it like because what LinkedIn is generally well, unless you're really, really, really sad. I don't. Not many people are going to have a fake LinkedIn account. Like
No,
that would you would have to be number one most boring person on the planet if you
I
are
made a
going on
fake LinkedIn
Facebook.
account and this is what it talked to me about business to business
Yeah.
marketing.
That's oh God, no. Oh no, there's people that have done that, isn't there? Oh, that's
I'll
terrible.
guarantee there will be.
But everyone that in life, in social media, if you're a creative, if you're a business-minded individual, if you are I don't know if you're a right-wing fanatic or a left-wing nut, if you're throwing oil over the place or stealing from Greg's, like you got to own it. And if you get caught out, there's freedom of speech, but there's no freedom of consequence. If you get caught out for being an absolute douchebag, then own it. And that's what social media doesn't provide. It doesn't provide that platform for people. Well, actually, no, it's thought policing, isn't it? If you get done for things you said online. Oh, you this thought police. No, you were literally inciting racial hatred using social media. It's the same as doing it standing out in the middle of your high street outside Greg's. There you go. And we talk about a lot of things that make me quite passionate, and a lot of people who listen would be like, "Wow, Geoff, we've not seen this side of you before. You're usually very just kind of charming, funny, and quite ambiguous. But I think there's a lot of important things that have been spoken about, and I thank you so much, Glenn, for coming on. Glenn Braley, please, before we go off and I don't know start our political marches against Elon Musk and such. where is it we can find you, especially on Twitter? Where can we find you? Where can we find you on social media?
Well, on social media, I try to keep things simple. You can find me across all available channels at Glenn Braley Comedy.
Glenn Braley Comedy. That's GLENN BRALEY. I don't hope you like how I made it look. I was just recounting that from the top of my head, but actually, I just got your face looking at me on my other screen. But I went to check an extremely funny, thoughtful, thought-provoking comedian. Gonna make it big. Keep going. Check out if you're ever in Bournemouth. Go to the Bournemouth nights. Bournemouth's a lovely place. Just don't swim in the sea, but the beaches are lovely. I think that's it. I think things have been made better. If nothing else, I feel a bit better about myself.
It's definitely been cathartic. I think there's been a lot of offloading on both of our
That's it.
parts here.
Fun and cathartic is what all the guests say. The listeners say differently. No. Right. Everyone just likes talking, and that's the best thing about this thing. Right. Okay. People find me at. I love the hypocrisy of this. Social media is bad,
Yeah.
but
It's shit, but look there for us.
Yes,
because we are the shining piece of sweet corn in the turdy nugget of social media.
That is beautifully put. And my shining sweet corn is at Better with Geoff on Twitter and Instagram, and then you've got Geoff Jones and Friends Make It Better on what's it called, Facebook and YouTube, and I am Dave Snozbottom on LinkedIn. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let us know your thoughts, whether you agree or disagree, because I appreciate this was quite a leftist view on the world. Happy to hear from both sides of the camp. But all there is for me to say thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much to my guest, Glenn Braley. I will see you all again. It's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from Glenn. Say goodbye, Glenn.
Goodbye. Thank you very much for having me, Geoff. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure. Until next time, thank you.